Lesson 4, multiplication and division word problems. Just like addition and subtraction word problems, we do the same steps for solving multiplication and division problems. Read through the problem, identify what they're asking, determine what information is needed to solve the problem, identify what is given and then what will help this solve the problem, and then set up your equations so you can solve it. And there's also some keywords that you can have with multiplication and division. So multiplication keywords: twice, groups of, times per, or times, or per, double, the multiplication sign, each, equal groups, multiply, or altogether. Altogether, that one's a little bit tricky because that can be also addition. Division, you got divide, you got each, between, cut up, half, how many in each, divided by. So just keep in mind, read it carefully and identify the key words. So let's look at some examples here. In the auditorium, the chairs were arranged in rows with 15 chairs in each row. There's your key word, each. If there were 360 chairs, how many rows of chairs were there? So my question is, how many rows of chairs were there? Well, I know there's rows with 15 chairs in each row, and there were 360 chairs. So how many rows will that make? So if I know I have the keyword each, I know that's going to be division. So if I take my 360 chairs and I can have 15 in a row, so I'm going to divide those 360 into 15 desks to put in a row. We want to find out how many rows there'll be. So 15 goes into 36. 2 times 15 is 30. Subtract below, so 6, bring down the 0. 15 goes into 60. 4 times 15 is 60. So you would have 24 rows. And you can check your answer by taking 15 times 24, and that will give you 360. Next problem. The total cost for 5 student tickets to the county fair for $28.75. The cost of each ticket can be found using which of these equations? So 5 students can go to the fair for a total cost of $28.75. If you want to find out the cost of each ticket, you would have to take the total cost, so $28.75, and divide it by 5. So if you look at your choices, none of the choices tell you that you're dividing by 5. So you have to go a step further. They have an equation where t has to get by itself. So which one has the t and the 5 next to each other, and that in order to get t by itself, you have to divide by 5 on both sides. The only choice that it's there is the letter A. 5 times the tickets should give you the total cost of the ticket equals $28.75. So I would have to get t by itself by dividing by 5. I don't want to use c because the 5 and t are next to each other, but this you're dividing by 5. But to get t by itself, you'd have to multiply by 5 on both sides, and that would be more than the total cost. So letter A is the correct answer. Next example, Corey sorted 375 quarters into groups of 40 so that he could put them in rolls. How many rolls can Corey fill with the quarters? Okay, so we need to find out how many rolls can Corey fill with the quarters. So he sorted 375 quarters into groups of 40. Groups of would be your key word. Now that could be multiplication, it could also be division. So you have 365. You're putting them in groups of 40, so you're dividing them into groups of 40. How many rows can Corey fill with the quarters? So let's take our 375, and we need to divide that into 40 groups, or in groups of 40. So I take 40 cannot go into 37. 40 can go into 375 9 times. 9 times 40 is 360. That will leave you with 15 quarters that are not in the group, that's not in a group of 40. So now we have to determine, what do we do with those 15 at the end? So if 15 can't make a full roll, so how many rolls can he fill with the quarters? He can fill 9 rolls. Why is that reasonable? Well, he doesn't have enough to make 10 full rolls. So we have to go with how many complete rolls can you have, which is 9. There are 15 quarters left over that does not make up a roll. So our reasonable answer for this example would be 9. And let's go through the next one. Carver gazed at the ceiling tiles. He saw 30 rows of tiles with 32 tiles in each row. How many ceiling tiles did Carver see? So how many did he see? That tells us we're trying to find a total. And since these are multiplication and division, he saw 30 rows, and here's rows of in algebra and math class means multiplication. So 30 rows of 32. So I'm going to take my 32, I'm going to multiply by 30. You notice I put it off to the side because anything multiplied by 0 is going to be 0. So I know my answer has to end with a 0. Now I just multiply the 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. So I have 960 tiles. And the last two questions. 4 student tickets to the amusement park cost $95. The cost of each ticket can be found by solving which of these equations? So we need to find the total cost. So 4 student tickets to the amusement park cost $95. The cost of each ticket can be found by solving which? We need to find the cost per ticket. So the total is 95 divided by the 4 students. We don't see 95 divided by 4 in A. That's 4 divided by that, so I know it cannot be A. T divided by 4 equals $95. If I want to get T, T stands for the ticket cost. If I want to get T by itself, I have to multiply by 4 on both sides. That's going to give me more than $95. That's too much because it has to be less than 95 because 95 is a total for 4 tickets. So that also eliminates C because you're still multiplying 4 times 95. So the correct answer is letter B. It should be letter D on the bottom. We are dividing by 4 on both sides. So the last choice is the correct answer. Amanda has 632 dimes. How many rolls of 50 dimes can she fill? Explain why your answer is reasonable. Okay, so you have a total and you're putting them in groups of 50. So you are dividing them into groups of 50. So how many groups of 50 are you going to have? I take my 632 and I divide it by 50. 50 goes into 63 one time, 1 times 50 is 50. Subtract below, you get 13. Bring down the 2. 50 goes into 132. The 2 times 50 is 100. Subtract and you get 32 left over. So the reasonable answer, which she would be able to have 12 rolls, because she does not have enough to make a 13th roll because she needs 50 and she only has 32. If you have any other questions with this lesson, please send me an email or put a notice in Teams to get extra help.